and welcome to the sports betting and financial crime section. In doing this together with the Association of Certified Gaming Compliance Specialists, and are happy to say that Ian Messenger has invited me for this presentation, and I'm so happy to join. It's my pleasure to be here, and hopefully we can all get a little bit of thoughts, at least, out of this. There will be a good mix of something that I've been a part of, and then also a little bit of, what can we call it, academic stuff. And again, please feel free to raise your voice. You are more than welcome. So about me, I am a senior manager of the Financial Compliance Group, a Swedish consultancy firm that are mainly working in the financial compliance area as well as the sports betting. I used to work in Danske Bank, but also I have more than 8 years of experience in risk and monitoring for match fixing and money laundering in sportsbook. And then my early background was also odds compiling. In my spare time, I'm also a lecturer at the University of New Haven, where we have another sports betting integrity course. I would say a couple of lessons about quite the same that we go through. So this is a very, very short version of this one. And in the coming weeks, there will be a 4-hour session of the same that we have here that you can also join later on for the fall, where you can take it online. That's enough about me. That's not the most interesting part. But then, yeah, let's move on. Introduction and cases. So now again, how many bookmakers do you know? I know that you will probably not be speaking that much, but if you have have the chat function or something, then use that, or you're also more than welcome to just shout out if you know them all, or if that's something. Of course, there are 2. That's at least a start. Yes. I just took a variety of various bookmakers around the globe. So you have, for example, Bet365 that are well known for a lot of people. DraftKings are a little bit more in the US. Blue Vegas in the Nordics, the UK, Unibet both in the US, Canada maybe as well, and also known in Scandinavia. This is just a tiny bit of the world gambling companies. I just took some of them, but there are yes. Well, there's also I also know a few African bookmakers at least. So, but it could be that it's of course have something to say with that. And there are none of them that are approaching the African market here. Even though that I know a few and working with some of them already. But just saying that these are well-known bookmakers around the world that are also, they're much more, of course, 700-800 different bookmakers. So that you think, what is going on here? A little bit academic, because I hope that you can also see the mouse. I've done a little bit of research on the Danish bookmaker market and also at the global level, but this Carroll CSR pyramid kind of explain the model for company-wise. So you have the economical responsibility, meaning that you do need to have like the ground base of finances. Otherwise, you cannot exist. If you're still owning money, or at least if people don't trust in you and you don't make any turnover, then at least you will not have a company. Then you have the legal responsibilities that are somehow required from state to state or country to country or whatever market you are in. And then you have the ethical responsibilities, which are more like, why are you actually doing this? You can say some lotteries in the world would often say they are here for ethical reasons, because they are giving a part of the model is to give money back to the society, which is also a part of other betting companies' model. They just choose to give money back to sport. Where the philanthropic responsibility is more for, when you do a company, then it's for the social good as such, as the whole, which I haven't seen a betting company actually acting in this way. For Denmark, I would say the most of them are here down in the legal responsibility, but they live at least up to like the requirements from the beginning when they start. But I will also say that some of them are actually just in the line of economic and legal responsibilities. And why I'm saying that is because lately we have seen a lot of fines, especially for money laundering or not living up to the Anti-Money Laundering Act. That goes both for the UK based companies, but also in Denmark. It goes also for Sweden, even Malta, and so on. So if you get a fine for not being able to live up to the legal responsibility, in my view, that means that you're then below the line. Then we can always discuss if there's actually anyone up here. I would probably say no, but of course it's a view that I have when I do some research. How much do you offer as a sports book? How deep do you go on the level? How much money do you take, and so on? All things that we are coming to discuss in the next half an hour, 45 minutes. So looking at the risk in the sports betting, I'll just remove this one. And please feel free to take the chat again. You are more than welcome, and ask questions, or also raise your hand or whatever you find the most. But looking at the risk in sports betting, and for society-wise, there are of course more risk in sports betting, but that's the financial crime risk are the money laundering, match fixing, and then also gambling addiction. If you look at money laundering, then of course it is to get the money into some kind of legal system, so you can get them out and say this is my money. I won it through a gambling company. So that's the well-known definition of that one. The match fixing area is where the players or player, if that's a tennis match, actually are losing on purpose or similar, and that's often like through a bribe, or they are threatened to lose on purpose. And then we have gambling addiction. That's where you are addicted, that you want to play as often as possible and you want to win your money back. And then you probably wonder, why is there a different color on this one? And it's simply because we will talk most about money laundering and match fixing. And I do aware of the fraud in the gambling addiction, that you use your wife's or whatever credit card. So there are some fraud issues related to the gambling addiction, but the match fixing and money laundering are more in this. And then we got a question. Thank you so much. The question that are saying, are there any terrorist and proliferation financing risk with sports betting, or it's already subsumed under the money laundering? Yes, there are. Well, of course, we have seen some kind of terror financing within the sports betting, but I would say it's more related to this, where you see like in, depending on where you are, but in Denmark and several other places, it is like you can give a part of your, if I'm having my own shop and I offering Danske Spil, or I offer sports betting, then I'm allowed to share some of my revenue or my profit to a good cause. And then we see that some of them are actually just setting some of these shops up, or setting these shops in the market so they can finance terrorist groups. That's how I've seen it. I have not seen it as much as going in and making this kind of place a bet and transfer of money. But of course, at certain betting companies that don't have like proper risk assessment or due diligence in place, you will probably see there will be a possibility to kind of transfer money around the globe. So I will not say it's not there, but I have not seen it as such in my own working experience. I hope that somehow answered your question, and at least that's from my view. And thank you so much for it. It's really nice. But yeah, coming back to the money laundering and then or the gambling addictions, just saying that there will be some fraud cases in the gambling addiction because you will see people or the addict trying to get loans, trying to get hold of as much money to win their losses back. But match fixing and money laundering are often seen a little bit more in the sports betting used by criminals, where if you're addicted, then it's actually often a player, a football and an athlete that have an addiction, and then he will become one of the guys that could be included in the match fixing area. So the products that are out there, we have the Mutual, which is this kind of pool games. It's all bets are placed into a common pool, and the winner then take pretty much everything. Of course, there are a little bit remain to the ones that are offering the pool games. And for money laundering and match fixing, that is pretty much not very possible. Of course, it's also sometimes combined. So, for example, in horse racing, you both have the Mutual, but you also have the fixed odds betting, which again then will say, okay, you actually have this part of that one. So it's not that we can say that, okay, it's only horse racing and then you have Mutual, because there are also other products on the horse racing. And then you have the fixed odds betting, which are the normal that 1x2, winner, and so on. We will go a little bit into that afterwards, where money laundering and match fixing are often used. And then I also said, like here we have the betting exchanges, which are an operator saying that now we have customers placing bets against each other. And then also again, money laundering and match fixing are often taking place in such a place, of course, depending on what they offer. Again, please feel free to ask questions or comments. So the markets that are there, we have the 1x2 as mentioned. I've just taken the main markets because that's where we see the most money often. And it's either the 1x2, either known as decimal, a money line, or fractional wagering, which is some of the most common for baseball, hockey, soccer, football, whatever it's called in your country. And once again, money laundering, yes. Match fixing, yes. We have the point spread, the handicap teams where you have to win with a specific margin that the bookmaker put up, and often that put up to make the match more equal, or someone would say fair. So it will be me playing against Roger Federer in tennis, then I should probably start with a handicap of 5.9, if that's possible. I don't think it is, but if that's false, I would probably use 6-0, 6-0. And then yet again, money laundering and match fixing are often seen in these point spread. Then we have the proposition bets, which are these kind of the more exotic bet that also stated here, which team scores the first, the throw-ins, it can be exact score, and so on, where money laundering, because of the payback percentages, are often a little bit lower, or going somewhere between 90 to 80 to 90, depending on bookmaker again. Then money laundering are not that common, of course. You will probably see something, but it's not the most seen. Match fixing, yes, because when you have events where you only have one or two players involved that can do something about it, yellow cards, red cards, and so on, then it's a good starting point for the match fixers to approach the players. So that's something where match fixing actually also is finding place. And then you have the live betting or in-play betting, where you place your bet, and that could be all the bets we just talked about. Just find it good to be aware that is somewhere that people, they distinguish between like pre-live and live, but often the bets are the same. They will of course just change during live betting because of the time is running. And again, not saying that odds will not change beforehand. They will just change because of news, team news, and other risks that are related to the game. And then we have a question here. Thank you, Ben. Are the stake limits on proposition bets also significantly lower than point spread? Yes, that's the short answer. And a little bit longer answer is that it is so that when you put a price in the market, often that's on the like higher leagues in Premier League, Champions League in soccer, football, you can often place like bets like 14 days before the match take place. And there you will also see that the limit will change. So you will have like until kickoff, you will see this kind of change in how much you can place. So for like 14 days before, you will not be able to place as much money as you can on the match day or in play betting. And that's because on the match day or a couple of days before, and while the match is going on, the betting companies know exactly who are playing and what is happening on the field. So they feel a little bit more comfortable to take such a bet. And also the risk, as mentioned here with the proposition bets on some of these, that's another part where they don't want take the same risk. And then the risk related to losing money on some of these things or some of these bets, which means that also one of the ones too, the point spread or the over-under are the ones where people are putting the most money. So then again, you don't want, or the betting company want some kind of people to place the bets on all the outcomes, so they can have green numbers on all the outcomes, and then it's a good day for the betting company and for at least some of the ones that place the bets. And there was like a second question, two questions, or was it answering your question good enough, Ben? Do I miss something? So it's harder for someone. Yes, good. Then we're good to go. Thanks. And thank you for the question. That is well appreciated. Sorry? Someone here that was talking? No questions? Then let's move on. This is simply just some cases in the medias, just saying that match fixing is definitely not something new and something that haven't happening, or money laundering for the sake, because if we look at this one with Betway, then it's simply like an 11.6 million pound fine. Then it's often fun while we working in compliance say, how can we actually say that we are worth our money? And I think the 11.6 million UK fine is somehow good enough to put on the board level and say, now I of course don't know what your salary are, but I can definitely say that mine are not in the area of that one. But of course it can also been seen over a couple of years, but still, again, for that fine, we can afford a few compliance officers for a bunch of years at least. So again, a little bit academic maybe, but I just think it's why money laundering in the sportsbook. And what we have seen is that the supply of money laundering and the demand have shifted. So it's actually, as also stated here, with the fine to Betway, and it's not the only betting company, so it's not to point fingers at Betway. It could be pretty much everyone that haven't living up to the ML obligations. But what we see is that the more you offer, the more you're just like people will just use you for whatever criminal, like match fixing or money laundering. So just think this one, that everyone should be aware working in this field, that are you putting more markets on the plate? Are you putting more sports? Do you know enough about the sport and so on? Then you can kind of make your risk and at least be aware that the more you supply to the market, there is also a new demand for money laundering. And then the level of crime will go up. And then why use gambling for money laundering, you can often place a decently volume of cash, money, like you can actually play real cash, and still for some, cash is the king. You don't have as such a physical product. Of course, you get a coupon. It's often tax-free. Yes. I bet that this is not a question, but the Vancouver models and the crime people there use the casinos. I guess that's pretty much correct. Yeah. And so I'm not totally familiar with. I know and I've seen a lot of the news lately with something going on in Canada. So it's not my area of expertise, but I actually know that there are a few people from Canada. So please feel free to share your insights here if possible. And yeah, that should be the PDF can probably be shared afterwards. So that's fine, at least on my end. But let's get back to why we use gambling for money laundering. There is also often tax-free winnings. You have many places where there's operators, and again, I know from state to state, also in Canada and other places, it's sometimes you only have one company, a monopoly, and other places you have 50 or 120 and so on. You can somehow transfer money from country to country depending on which sportsbook that you use, and you can get your payout to your bank accounts where you say, well, I won it through betting, where in many cases this is actually not, it's not a problem, or it should also not be a problem, because of course if you are a decently good punter and you want to take your money out, that should also be what you should be allowed to. So just a little case here. I don't know how good you can see this, but we have this is from Denmark. I'm based in Denmark, so I took something that I have been investigating myself. You can see the small shops here, small shops offering sports betting. They have like a couple of various bookmakers. They all offering, the bookmakers offering pretty much the same. It was a yellow card for a specific player in a match. And just beforehand, like, a couple of days before, the odds was 2.75 for yes, he will get a yellow card. 4 hours before kickoff, the odds was 1.20. And sorry for the ones that use the money line, the equal is 77% of probability. And yet again, the 2.75 is 33% probability for giving the yellow card. What happened was that a lot of money was placed in these various shops, and this is a area of Copenhagen that are known for somehow also the weed hash market, cocaine market, and so on. So the shop owners was some of these guys that then actually just took money from the fence and knowing that this player will get a yellow card. And when you get this one, you can see this one, and then you can make your own judgment if that was on purpose or he just did something really stupid. The thing is that he was actually getting the yellow card late in the match, and the money was paid out in the same shops, which then were winnings. No, it's not Christianshavn, but it's not that far. It's Nørrebro, where we have some various areas that could be good for some, but it's close, yes. And again, thank you for a comment. Again, please feel free. It's an open talk. So one case from Denmark, there are definitely several cases where this is one I know from Cyprus, from investigating journalist, where an owner of a football club both owned a football club but also a retail betting shop. So the football players, they had some kind of agreement with the owner that instead of like getting all the salary, then they could just bet on the matches that the owner he kind of knew would be. So he could kind of balance his books in the betting shops and see that he had a decent amount of turnover. But of course not that much that he lose money on in the shop. So of course the player will still get some kind of money, but all the money that he also did on other stuff came into the betting around. So he used his cocaine money, his dirty money, to get into his own betting shop. He got turnover. The players got salary by winning slips. So that's another way of doing this. They of course also went to other shops, so it was not only his own one that was a target. It's still under investigation, but also a case that looks a little bit strange, funny, stupid, what to say. Many ways of doing things. This is probably one of the most high level, where the police did an investigation in 9 different countries around Europe. The fun part of this was that the investigation started with drugs and money laundering, but then get some they kind of approach or find out that it actually also included match fixing. So around 200 games across 9 countries has been implicated in the match fixing, and the money you can see is about a little less than €500,000 bribed players in various countries, and bets were placed on the outcome of matches, red cards, late goals, and so on. And then in the end, they were winning around €1.6 million, which is also a decent amount of money. So risk management in sportsbook, unless we have some questions, please feel free. Raise your hand or just say something, or otherwise we move on. So when we look at the risk, you're of course, depending on your company or at the betting company, you have some kind of geographical area. As you saw before, the 3x5, they are all around the world. It's not always that it's so transparent. You can have a decently complex money flow. Networks included, so you also need to take that up to consideration. And of course, there are KYC checks, but still, we also know there are a lot of mules involved. So this kind of who are actually placing your bets and how is extremely important, that you can see if there is the same pattern among some kind of the network, or people are kind of hiding behind others. It's you can sign in with not that much money, and it's easy to get in. And then, as mentioned, you use identity theft and money mules for fixing money. But of course, there are the most companies, I would say. And if they don't have some kind of these mitigating action, you just probably not place your bets with them, because they are on the way out. KYC checks, if you do monitoring on company level on these various risks, there are of course thresholds and scenarios that we know from the financial sector. There are some controls when you take the money out. Some companies are demanding you that you could only take it out to your own bank account or the card that you used when you also signed up. There are regulation on money laundering in the most countries. In some places, match fixing is a criminal act, and in some places it goes under some other law. And there are, of course, international monitoring for match fixing. It's important to be aware of this international monitoring for match fixing. That's mainly odds monitoring, where you don't see where really don't see the money coming in. So all the betting companies are doing something, the odds data providers are doing something, and then you have various actions in the countries that you are probably in. So there can be a difference in Canada to Denmark to Sweden to France and so on. Tanzania, we also have. So it's just to say that it's there's a lot of stakeholder management, and even now with the Macalin Convention in place for match fixing and so on, I would say that I don't think we have found the right path yet, but I also know we are getting a little bit closer. Just from my sake, we are getting that too slow, but I've also been in the industry for 10 years or more. So of course you probably always find that annoying, but that's a personal view and biased. So bear with me. That's I'm just the old grumpy man in the corner. So when you do a risk assessment on company level, kind of take the market limits, sport limits, event money, and customer limits. Money are payments methods and so on. Not that far from the banking, what they do. The market limits are where are you as a company? Are you in Canada? Are you in Tanzania? Or are you both in Canada, the US, Mexico, or where are you actually? So do you actually know the law in the different areas, and are you at least applying that? The sports limit, do you know what you're offering, or do you just buy a feed from outside and then hope that some of the sports data providers know what they're talking about? Do you offer all kind of bet types and so on? Then you have the channels. Are you online, offline? Are you using your own shops or franchise, or is it like shop and shop? You have the money limits, the amount you can place on each event, the payments method, and also the payouts methods. So this kind of, can you use all kind of cards? Can you use crypto? Can you checks, whatever is out there? And how can you get it out? Of course, you need to take some of these things into consideration as well. And then, of course, in the end, a lot of companies are also having limitation on customer level, especially, and again, being a little bit biased on the winning customers is what we've seen. They are not taking that much into consideration on, and that's probably also why some of them have received heavily fine money laundering and match fixing, but are more taking into consideration if they can earn money on you. I'm not saying all betting companies are like that. I'm just saying that's what we have seen, and maybe not very ethical at least. So if we go back to the CSR pyramid, I would probably keep some of these or place some of these betting companies in the lower section of that one. And just, we can send this out on a PDF format. I think that's possible afterwards. There was a question about the slideshow. I do think that should be possible. Is that okay? That is a yes, I hope. And then so yeah, again, the risk assessment it should be like making a risk profile, money laundering, match fixing, identity risk, and then have this kind of top risk indicators, including fraud at least. And then again, also be aware of the gambling addiction and behavior, amount spent, time of day, the average number, and are you then deviating from your own behavior? Are you starting to place much more money, or are you playing more and more often? Are you playing on a sport you don't know anything about? That's what the companies are looking at. And network analysis, it's very important, especially for mules. And also mention here the addresses. What we've seen is also customer trying to hide behind the families, so that I start to have a few, I could just bet on my girlfriend's or wife's account, and then I will. It should include casino policies. Yes, I have not. As this is sports betting, I have not included like casinos, but casino and poker and so on are part of often a betting company. So yes, this kind of connection between the various product that you offer should be in place. I'm not saying it is as such for all of the betting companies, but I'm just saying that if you're a decently good company, it should be in place. But of course, the problem is that you transfer money from your sports betting account to your casino account to your poker account, and then if you're on a fixed match that you know, then you move your money to your casino or your poker account. Then you go into a table and lose to one guy that you know and that you are in connection with, and then yes, exactly. So yes, that is what we see, and I have also seen yes. So that's why it's important, of course, to have a more holistic view and not only look at sports betting. It's but that's what we are talking about today. And but again, please, there are many good people that also know something. I have a question here. Do you see an overlap in behavior and network analysis? Yes, we do. Oops, sorry. We just go back and I close this one. It is somehow because what we didn't see is if that's the same, or at least we think it's the same person when they have like this. For example, if I have the same address as my girlfriend using myself as an example, then we'll see that, okay, this behavior is actually quite the same as my behavior used to be, but now it's a female living on the same address. So yes, there will be some kind of overlap in this one. Not necessarily every time, but of course there can be. What we see is that you have some friends living together on the same address, and they will also use the same IP addresses and so on. And then they will actually not have the same behavior. So it's like not always, but we see it. Yes. Yes, I hope that was. Otherwise, please feel free again. It's only good with questions and comments. That's appreciated. So yeah, I say here it's easy to fly under the radar. Let me explain why. This is what we see as a single company. So when I did money laundering or anti-money laundering, I did not money laundering, at least not what I know of, but I hope I didn't. Then this is what we see, right? But if one player plays that, now I can take Sweden as an example because it kind of fit with the around 50 licenses that are in Sweden. And then I could play 1,000 at each company. And then it's actually, instead of 1,000, it's 50,000. That's a decent amount of money placing around as well. Now I haven't set any currency on, but it could be whatever. Dollars, UK, pounds, Danish. I would prefer pounds then, and then you can take it with a group of players. And it's in kroner. That could both be Sweden and Danish, and then I would prefer the Danish one. They are still a little bit more worth than the Swedish one. I don't know for how long. But again, it's just to emphasize that one bookmaker is only seeing one thing. The same goes with the financial sector. A bank is only seeing your profile from their perspective. And then again, you can go into multiple banks. You can also go into multiple betting companies. It's a little bit more tricky to have more bank accounts because that's actually a nightmare to open accounts some places. Where a betting company, they will always welcome you as a customer. So this is a little bit more easy. You can also, let's take an example of a tennis match. It's 190 on each side. I can place 10,000 in Copenhagen. I can also play 10,000 in Aalborg. I can play it on each of the outcomes, which means that I've spent 20,000, but I'm sure to win 19, which means that I've lost 1,000. Now I'm taking Denmark as an example, and I actually left my island where I grew up out. But yet again, losing 1,000 for having a coupon of 19,000, that's relatively cheap for money launderers, and they are okay doing that, at least what we often see with the betting. This one is that you can actually do it at the same company, but you can also do it with different companies. It's just a phone call, and then you have a friend or colleague or whoever and you that are part of this, and then you place the money, and then you're good to go. So then I will finish up with this one and talk about a story. I hope that you're all here still, so it's not that boring, at least. When I worked at a gambling company, we have a shop in this area, and that's Christianshavn. So Ben, now you can probably recognize this place where I'm not saying you bought weed or other good stuff at that place. You can also buy a burger and beers and so on that are still legal to do in Denmark. But we had a shop out there. They have just applied, and then yeah, that sounds good. They've just applied as a regular. That's no one was actually taking anything into consideration. Just, yeah, of course you can have a shop. You have a small shop anyway. So that's often how the company did their shop in shop anyway. But what happened was that the machine where you put your money through was placed in the back room of the location. No one could find it. It had a turnover of the maximum amount you could place on each bet. All the bet types on the sports betting were either low odds like 1.10 or 1.05 or similar, or some of these equal tennis matches. It was all on, mostly in play live betting and so on taking place. It took us 3 years to close it down because some of the people said in this that the betting companies that it's a pretty good turnover. Yes, of course, all the money are coming for the sale they did on wheat and other stuff in this area. So, or maybe they just took out some money from the burger place just here, but it was just a huge risk, and I was quite happy that we finally got to shut it down. But I was not happy about the length of how long it took before we shut it down. But at least something to consider, and we should of course be aware. And that's also, of course, betting company are, as all other companies, they should earn money, but maybe not money on kind of the wrong side of the table, at least. And we're back to this one. When I've been talking, I often, I still say that the gambling companies are somewhere here in the bottom. I hope that some of them will come up and be a little bit more here in between the ethical and the legal responsibilities. But who knows? The future